She has never met regularly and for special occasions, including on Mother's Day, with messages such as Sweet Mother and Best Four Sisters, as seen in figure 5.1. Emma refers to Geraldine as her mother because of the things Geraldine does for her and the relationship they have, even though they are not biologically related. This example indicates both children's competence in forming new family relations, and also the fluidity of family. That wasn't very fluid, was it? Where family structures can change over the life course. Children and young people can be resourceful in seeking and receiving care from others if their immediate relations are unable to provide it. And adults may be willing to provide family-style care to young people for whom this is lacking, thus doing family in various ways. As the final section of this chapter will show, children's family types may involve moving between multiple households. Children can form family-like networks with adults to secure support for education, apprenticeship, food amid the rising cost of education, and everyday life in countries within Africa and Asia, where cultural norms encourage contact among cousins, uncles, aunties, friends, and siblings. Mason and Tipper, 2008. Siblings. Much of the work in both sociology and psychology on definition of family and on what families do concentrates on relationships between adults and children. This, however, overlooks sibling relationships, which are an important aspect of many children's experiences of family. Important in their development, and often some of the longest relationships of their lives. In many parts of the world, children spend much of their time with and under the charge of their other siblings, who play a central role in their lives. Many children, especially girls, including in the global north, are expected to look after or at least keep an eye on much younger siblings, while their mothers do the housework or go out to work. While this active sibling oversight may have faded in some communities, it is still prevalent, and certainly siblings remain highly significant. The variety of sibling relationships is great, but in general, they are characterized by a strength and depth of emotion, whether positive, negative, or ambivalent. Older siblings are often fundamental in socializing younger ones and being socialized by them, and through each other learn how to cooperate, empathize, and play. Such proximity also means, of course, that siblings learn from an early age exactly which buttons to press and how to rile each other. This contrast of love and antagonism is one of the defining features of much of the literature. Psychologists have found that siblings teasing begins early in the second year of life, increasingly rapidly from then on. Teasing demonstrates considerable understanding of the other child, showing that children's ability to understand others' minds, motivations, and sensitivities being very early in life and can be beneficial. Psychologist Judy Dunn argues that children who have engaged in frequent shared pretend play with an older sibling and talked about mental states, knowing, remembering, thinking, believing, and so on, with a sibling are over time especially successful on the standard assessment of understanding emotions and mental states. In Morrow's study, described earlier, 11-year-old Callum summed this up succulently. I can't say it. My little sister is important to me because I can sometimes trust her. She does get very annoying, though, despite reservations, children often value the shared time and experience of childhood. As with their siblings, they can be themselves and don't have to put up pretense or be on their best behaviour. Sociologist Samantha Punch has called this children's backstage behaviour, the things that they get up to when no one is watching and when they don't feel judged. I get pizza in my face, ice cream. The brothers seem to think it's okay to have the door open when they're having a shower and when Elliot's doing the toilet But like with my friends, I wouldn't do that in front of them because I don't know them as well as that. Henrietta, 11, oldest. Children report feeling accepted, warts and all, by their siblings, and in return accept their brothers and sisters' foibles and failings. If you try to take your anger out on your friends, then they'd think you're like, oh no, he hates me or something, but they, siblings, no, I hate them sometimes, but I don't really hate them. I just say you do, but you don't. Craig, 11, middle child. Key points. Children are flexible about what constitutes family. Their definitions include living and dead relatives, non-relatives, and even pets as family members. Children usually care more about love and care than they do about biological relationness of family formation. Love and care than they do about biological relationness of family formations. Siblings are an important part of a child's family, and these relationships provide evidence of very early understanding of others' minds and motivations. Transnational families. During the COVID pandemic, starting in 2020, new ways of doing family and maintaining family ties developed quickly. Travel and social restrictions in most countries physically separate families. Meetings with parents, grandparents, siblings, and friends became harder or impossible, so many families found new ways of continuing. And developing relationships, including depending on internet-based technologies, such as social media, to stay connected emotionally and socially, even if they did not live together or could not see each other. People found ways to show distant love and care. For many other families, however, long-distance relationships and even long-distance parenting were not new. Researchers have examined transnational families who live in different countries but who create and retain a sense of collective welfare and unity in short familyhood, even across national borders. This may involve parents who work overseas or children sent to other people to be raised. Researchers have examined how adults can parent children from a different country, identifying caregiving arrangements, money, goods exchange, communication between children and parents, maintenance of cultural practices, and children identity formation across borders. As some countries continue to maintain COVID-related travel restrictions and physical distance measures, Migrants and non-migrant separated families had to organise care from a distance. Migration does not necessarily imply travel across borders, and many people migrate within their own country and region. For example, in order to secure work to support family members. Those who are unable to meet physically may feel guilty not being there for their children. Gendered care practices can be further reinforced or changed depending on who moves and who is unable to move. In 2020, 281 million migrants were living outside their country of birth. This number includes 35.5 million children under the age of 18, some of whom are refugees fleeing conflict and persecution in their home countries. Poverty, unemployment, and poor access to health, childcare, and education mean that many families or family members becoming transnational families. Parents often move to meet rising aspirations, redress inequalities in access to education and work, and achieve a better life for themselves and their children. When parents move, the host country's restrictive immigration policies or the nature of the parent's job can mean their children do not join them immediately, or even the family relationships are stretched across borders with children in one country and their parents in another. Yet even though external circumstances have changed, families can remain strong and parents and children find new ways to communicate with each other. Women from Central America who work as maids in the USA, or those with Philippines or Indonesia who work as nannies in the Middle East or elsewhere in Asia, or as nurses in European countries, do not cease nurturing their children or being very heavily involved in their lives. Research has shown how migrant working women can home daily, use Skype and WhatsApp to see their children. In some cases, keep Skype on all day while they clean the house and housekeep and help the children with their homework while getting on with their day job thousands of miles away. These studies of transnational families challenge dominant constructions of good family that suggest that to be a good mother or a good child requires a nuclear family or even physical co-presence. Case study: Afia, growing up in a migrant family and caregiving arrangement, only child to a single mother, who now works as a nurse. Afia was born in London and her mother was born in Ghana. Worked as a security guard, earning a low income. She found it was nearly impossible to support herself, and Afia financially, she decided to arrange for a friend's mother to take care of Afia in Ghana when Afia was 6 months old, and Afia lived in Ghana until she was 3 years old. While they were separated, with Afia in Ghana and her mother in London, Afia's mother tried to maintain family closeness with her daughter through audio and video phone calls and by sending money and toys from London. She was able to visit Afia at least once a year in Ghana. Afia now describes her attitude whenever her mother joined her in Ghana. I will be here, her baby, whenever she is in Ghana. I sometimes cry and I want her to carry me, even though I have grown. I would want to go everywhere with her. Through her primary caregiving was present, Afia preferred her returned mother to perform caring duties, thus building a physical parent-child relationship during visits. In this way, she sought to catch up on lost childhood moments and formed an attachment with her migrant parent. Afia now lives in London with her mother, and when asked what she's likes about her mother. She said, "Since I came back to London, Mum does a lot for me. She cooks and takes care of me. When I'm not well, she cleans my room and comes to school meetings. My father should be doing something right. My mum is doing what my dad should be doing." Afia's mother is no longer a security guard and is now working as a nurse. So she goes to work early and comes home late. Afia enjoys ballet, music, and going to the park with her mother or a family friend who stays with them. Afia's school provides local authority funded care, picking her up from home at 7 a.m. for breakfast club and keeping her in after school club until her mother arrives home from work at 6 p.m. Afia's mother then supervises Afia's homework and goes to bed. Even though they are now in the same country, Afia's mother still feels she does not have enough time to spend with her child as a mother. Currently, Afia's mother has decided to move out of London due to rising rent, meaning another internal migration for Afia and her mother. Afia is sad she will be leaving London and notes, "I wish I could be in London because I can see my friends at my school." In this short account, we see that while navigating time and financial constraints, Afia's mother cares for her, ensures she is well looked after, and responsibility and consciously chooses people, relatives and non-relatives, to perform what it means to be a mother. That is cooking, engaging with the child's school, discipline, language, and cultural awareness, reading bedtime stories, and essential child rearing activities, all of which Afia's mother felt she was unable to accomplish on her own in London without affordable childcare. While the idea of being separated for nearly 3 years from one very young child might sound unimaginably difficult to some parents from the global north, it is important to note a long cultural tradition of child circulation that exists in Ghana and in other parts of West Africa and other parts of the world, where children are sent away to different parts of the country to be raised and educated by members of the extended family. This circulation of children is part of a wider cultural belief about the relative roles and responsibilities of parents and wider community. Children are collectively raised, and the concept of motherhood and caring responsibility is inclusive and elastic and allows for many different people to participate in doing family, carrying out different aspects of nurturing, socializing, education children, which would elsewhere be done solely by parents. Wealthier relatives may contribute to their school fees. Grandmothers or older siblings may feed children daily, socialize them, teach them to read, or install cultural values while their mother is many miles away. The impacts of migration and separation of the parent-child relationship are complex, and there is no straightforward answer. Children's experiences depend on several factors, including the availability and nature of alternative caregiving, who moves and who stays, level of interaction, visit of communication, the duration and the age of the separation from parents, poverty and other resources, constraints. Studying 48 children of Caribbean migrants, psychologists Andrea Smith, Richard Leyland, and Simon Johnson argued that lengthy physical separation due to parental migration can potentially disrupt parent-child bonding and lead to children's low self-esteem and skipping school at least once. Similarly, children of rural urban migrant parents living in China often experience emotional challenges including anxiety and depression. Research in the Philippines, Lesotho, and Ghana suggests that amid parental migration or loss of parents, extended family, e.g., uncles, cousins, aunts, and grandparents, provide care and emotional support for children or redistribute, such as care for younger siblings, cleaning and cooking to older children or siblings. When Filipino parents maintain regular communication with their children through telephone calls, it may reduce loneliness among left-behind children, although sociologist Russell Salazar Paranas observed gender difference in communication by migrant parents. Filipino fathers abroad, as compared to mothers, really rarely communicated with their children at home. While children sent to their parents' origin countries or those left behind often accept transitional care arrangements planned by their parents, some exercise control in choosing whom to stay with. Mercy, 15, Ghana, was born in London, but due to her parents' inability to combine work and childcare at 7 months old, she was sent to Ghana to foster care by her maternal grandmother. In later years, when her grandmother had to travel away for a week, the grandmother planned to entrust Mercy's care to her uncle. Mercy, however, chose differently. My grandmother travelled to the village, and I went to my elder sister, Portia, 26 years, house for some time because I was the only child in the house and wanted to be with my sister and my niece. I came back after a week when my grandmother returned. Going there was my decision. Mercy resisted her grandmother's plan and went to live with her sister, whom she preferred, as she encourages and advises her on school assignments, though her grandmother was primary caregiver. Mercy considered her sister necessary to her education. Key points. Transnational families are those whose parents care and nurture across geographical boundaries and borders. There is a long history of children being moved between family members in West Africa, other parts of Africa and Asia, and in many other countries. Research on the outcomes for children are mixed, but most parents work hard to provide or arrange for care for the children, wherever they live, doing their best to ensure they are looked after responsibly within their families. Conclusion. Children across the world grow up in a variety of family types and structures. Some are prized in their own context while treated with suspicion in others. But as this chapter has argued, it is more helpful and indeed more in line with children's own views to see family in terms of what it does rather than its structure. And arguably, children need love, care, physical and emotional nurturance as they grow up, and this usually happens within families. But the structure of these families and who is physically present or absent is of much less importance. Looking at the diversity of families shows us how parents, whatever the external constraints or the internal makeup of the family, continue to love, care, and nurture their children. Sometimes this may take the form of delegating certain aspects of parenting to others while continuing to be a good parent by providing and nurturing from afar. What is important to remember, however, is that there is a wide variations in families and in child rearing practices across the globe, as well as different understandings of family relationships, and that what is natural and normal in a certain country may not be so in other parts of the world. Whew.